You're the founder. What are you?
I'm the caretaker.
He's the
I don't know why
he's
you're
the founder
changing that on
and
the.
owner of Cairo, but
I don't know why.
I think some of have tried to figure out who's the Gamla. Who's the Gamla? Because you just want to find like one document with the CIPC when you're the founder of Vestel. Temsa, who's this? No, this guy. It's Fran. Because look at him. Please look at him. Boom.
No, but it looks
There's no way.
the own, eh?
It looks like what?
It looks like the own.
Fuck that. Fuck that. Anyways, Chi, please let me know when you guys give us the thumbs up. We don't do like a formal start.
Serious.
So as soon as they say we're good, everything we say is then online. But it's very chill. But it could be anything. You could be speaking to Tabo, Moses, Penuel, you know, who came to make sure we start talking Tlamba. Mojo, then fuck, Aibo. You know what I mean? No shame, man. My mom loves me unconditionally.
Is it?
So I can swear.
No. I think
have children with.
To say that. You're not supposed to say that.
No, me and my mom are like this. I'm her
That's
spokesperson.
how love works.
Mom's a spokesperson, eh? Nazok, boom. Tula unakhomo ungazongena between me and my mom.
Please don't say that, Mom. But we'll never hear the end of it.
Are you happy with the tea and the arms?
Everything is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are the guns? Some push-ups?
Like this.
Are you good there? How do you want to send your host company?
Some push-ups?
You've been doing a little some. I see,
I'll
man.
need the mic.
Yo, Mr. Shezi, so as you were saying.
Let's go. We're rolling. Officially, we're rolling.
Officially?
Yeah, no,
Can I show my guns on camera?
Yes, you can, sir.
is that your host company?
But I haven't been.
Do you want to?
I want to do pull-ups, bro. And one day,
Whatever.
you know what I must do?
Work around that.
You know what I must do on the Penuel show? I must shoot some episodes with like a jacket. And
I'll move
like with a jacket so no one sees. But then I must be like under construction. So people at gym will start seeing my jaws and then one day I'll just be like, hey, and people are like, say, what happened to Benzo? Kingdom has been Ugoku.
I hope we're rolling.
No, we are rolling. Like say Ugoku. No, yini chamber, Ugoku.
What are you gonna do? Are you gonna just take steroids like?
No, why would I do that?
But are you gonna get that big?
Can you not see my natural physique? Can you not see my natural physique, homie?
I need that level of confidence.
I'm packing. No, I'm kidding. Mr. Sandile Shezi, welcome officially to the Penuel show. And I apologize that I work in a circus. And the guys that I work with are so unprofessional and they make me sound like a clown before we officially go on. But welcome. You are officially Babes. We're Forex.
Eish.
Babes. Is there another term for like the guy version of Babes?
Let's not go there.
We have to start there, unfortunately. I did ask you before we went on camera if you could please allow me, on behalf of all your fans, including myself, on behalf of all the kids that you inspired to get up, pick up their phone and like own their destiny. We've got a lot of questions for you and I hope you can indulge me.
Go for it.
Thank you, sir.
By the way, it's not a circus. It's a beautiful setup.
Thank you. Please don't tell Utebza because he's going to remind me all the time.
Yeah.
They are the clowns though. So yes, this is not a circus, but they are clowns. I'm a clown. How have you been? What have you been up to?
I've been good, my brother. I think firstly, thank you for the invite. I've been, trying to stay away from the camera for quite some time, but I think it's necessary for us to have this conversation.
Sure. You've told your story on many stages around the country. It's probably like a script, no? The introduction to Forex trading. If you don't mind, can you please indulge us with maybe like a 2-minute of how you'd introduce what Forex is, how you got into Forex
trading? I don't even know if I still know it.
You don't know the script?
Yeah.
Sky.
Let me check. No, man.
Because there might be people that have never traded is the thing.
Yeah.
So I think for their benefit of how you became the superstar that you became.
Look, man, Pen, I think it's one of those stories where you find yourself in a position where you've got a lot of questions. Am I going to make it in life? Do I stand a chance? You know, when you're sitting in a classroom and there's so many other young people who are smarter than you, who are brighter than you, who look like they come from better backgrounds than you, you begin to kind of feel a little bit uneasy and not sure, you look at your results at the end of the term and you're like, geez, what kind of car am I going to drive with these kind of results, you know? And even if I do excel, I mean, there's so many who've gone through this journey before me who are not necessarily where they're supposed to be according to the marks, you know? So I think that's where my journey really began, where I said, look, I need to try and figure out an alternative way of actually building myself, building my own wealth. Should I one day become an engineer, great, but I don't want to focus on that and be dependent on that. Yeah. And I think that's ultimately where I started really investing time in doing research. You know, I'm one of those people who on a Saturday, instead of watching football, I want to know what was Aliko Dangote up to. You know, what are the latest deals that he's been doing?
You're a nerd.
Amen?
You were a nerd.
No, far from it. Far from it.
But that's like nerdy behavior, to be tracking the markets and tracking what wealthy people are doing.
I think for me, I wanted to, you know, yes, you know what I mean? So I wanted to know what path have they taken? Because I want to walk on that exact same path. I want to duplicate a working formula, if I could say. So
you were studying engineering?
I went to a technical high school. So I started TD, engineering, graphics and design. I did civil from grade 8. We did electrical, mechanical. I think we only started choosing in grade 10.
Jeez, that's dope.
So
I'm listening to what you're saying about you wanted a workable formula.
Yeah.
Which might mean you already had the mindset of an engineer, even going into...
Remember, this was when I was in high school, it was the build up to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Right. So engineering was the thing. There was so much development taking place, stadiums being built in front of us. So I think my parents were like, for us to be well off, let's channel this boy in this route, you know.
Shout out to your parents.
Yeah. No, I think they did the best that they could, which I'm very grateful for. So I think I went through that route, but I think the frustration of, you know, Maukula Pen, and you know you don't come from a rich family. As much as you're in a good school, you know your parents have had to get into serious debt. You know, they just to make ends meet, and for you to be in that space and environment, sacrifices had to be made. You know, and when you find yourself in those spaces, you begin to realize that there are kids out there who are doing way better, who come from way better backgrounds. You know, and for me, it was always, I think from the get-go, I've always felt like I need to catch up. Because me and Donna that are being dropped off in Range Rovers. I've never been in a Range Rover at the time. You know, I'm seeing Mercedes Benz. You know, we had even a young chap of mine, a friend of mine, you know, who got dropped in a Ferrari. That was the first time I saw a Ferrari. I was like, wow.
This was in high school, tertiary?
This is in high school.
Wow.
You know,
shout out to your parents for real. It's the story of a black child. It's the story of a poor child whose parents are breaking their backs, trying to give them a better future.
And for me, that's why I always say exposure is everything. You know, sometimes not so much about, you know, what you're learning in class, but, you know, if you can afford to take your kids to the best schools ever, it's then up to them what they do with that.
Yeah. You still believe in that even now?
I do.
Okay. So you're in tertiary, you're looking at the kids around you and you're like, yeah, look, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm bright. These kids look like they've got a nice cushion to fall back on. And you're like, let me go and study rich people, how they move. How do you then stumble upon Forex trading? Was it one of many options? Was it the options? Because there's tenders in this country.
Yeah.
There's other things as well.
So it actually began in high school.
Okay.
Just as I was about to get into tertiary, where I said, look, I need to start making money right now.
Okay.
I need to find the most simplest ways of making money. If it means I sell t-shirts, let me sell t-shirts. If it means I need to sell clothes, buy clothes from somewhere, sell them at a slightly higher price, let me do that. So I kind of, probably from the age of 16, 17, I kind of played around with a number of things, you know, including selling muffins.
That's one of the popular stories people know, that you were selling muffins in school.
It's not the only one. You know, I did quite a lot of things. Got into network marketing. I was still in high school.
Network marketing is about Tupperware, Avon, Long Reach.
Pretty much.
Okay.
So what you see with Herbalife, those are things I started doing back then.
Okay.
There was a very popular company. I'd prefer not to mention the name.
I probably
But-
know the name. My mom was a school teacher. We know all the network marketing companies.
Yeah. So for me, it was always I need to find something that works.
Yeah.
And because time is still on my side, I can try and fail. I'm still young. You know, if I get into network marketing, doesn't work, it's okay. I'll find something else. You know, and the main thing that was pushing me is you need money to get started.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite quotes is, you need to invest before you spend, or invest what you have and spend what is left. But if you have nothing to invest, then, I mean, you know, hence why it was crucial for me to start something, just so I can have some sort of capital that I can work with and decide that, okay, now I've got 10,000, I've got 20,000, let me play around with this in either this or that. And obviously, the more I study these guys, the more I realize that these people are investing. And I think that's where I got exposed to the stock market first, which I soon realized that actually you need a lot of money to make money there.
Yeah.
You know, it's more of a long-term game.
Please explain that to an ordinary person.
Stock market.
No, why you'd say you need a lot of money.
Look, if you're looking at, I mean, stock market, remember, it's companies, listed companies that we're talking about. In South Africa, we have the JSE, Johannesburg Stock Exchange, so publicly traded companies are there.
Yeah.
Your Vodacoms and so forth. So if I go and buy whatever stock, the share price of that company is not going to triple in value in a week. So if it means I'm starting with 100,000 Rand, I'm not going to be sitting at 500,000 by end of next week, right? So obviously it then becomes a long-term game. You know, if share price goes up by 5% or 10%, and I'm only working with 10,000 Rand, 5% of 10,000 is what, 500 Rand?
Yeah.
Is it worth it for me to wait 6 months to make 500 Rand? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Hence why my view is you need quite a bit of money.
Okay.
You need to be quite patient, which is one of the reasons why I said, you know what, this thing is not going to work for me. Maybe in my 50s and I'm sitting with a reasonable amount of wealth, I can go back into the stock market. But for now, let me find something where I can spend money quickly.
Yeah.
And that's when I started looking into, you know, currency market, which is what people call Forex. Looked into trading commodities and so forth.
What are commodities?
So when talking commodities, we're talking gold, we're talking silver, we're talking oil.
A lot of kids, I think, that maybe weren't part of Forex mania, COVID mania, part of Forex mania, don't understand a lot of these terms. And a lot of them still don't even know that they have an option to trade oil, gold, platinum. I love that you spoke about investing your money first, because I think that's Robert Kiyosaki as well, who says pay yourself first. And what that means is pay yourself, take that money, and then put it to work.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that our education system is doing enough for financial education so that an ordinary child in high school, outside of network marketing, selling muffins and t-shirts, is like, guys, with your phone, you can actually, in real time, not demo accounts. In real time, you can actually put in 500 Rand. And when things are happening, Russia, Ukraine, America, the Middle East, get involved in the game and understand it. Do you think our schools are doing enough?
I'd say not enough.
Yeah.
I think there's still a lot that needs to be done, especially if you look at youth unemployment.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I'm not saying we need to now shove Forex down kids' throats in schools, but I think it's important, even if it's not part of the syllabus. You know, it can be something that can be taught after hours, can be taught whenever.
Like chess.
Like chess.
Make it an extra meal. Kids who are
100%.
interested in learning about the financial markets, here's a club at school.
100%.
Yeah.
It should.
You founded the Global Forex Institute. And I guess we're kind of jumping now for the benefit of the conversation. From when you realized that, look, I'm not going to trade shares. They take too long. And this is for rich people. 5% move for a 10 million Rand account is different from a 1,000 Rand account.
Absolutely.
You discover Forex, you realize that I can grow a lot and quickly here. From when you discover that, how long does it take you to build GFI, and how was GFI born?
So, in a nutshell, I think I'm now in varsity.
Yeah.
In varsity, I'm distracted.
You don't want to give a shout out to your high school and your tertiary institution?
Of course.
Please.
Shout out to everyone who went to George Campbell.
I know George Campbell.
Technical High School. I mean, you're a rugby boy.
I'm a rugby boy. That's how I know George Campbell.
Yeah.
Got the assassin shire, but it's okay.
I'm sure.
We'll speak about that on another day. George Campbell.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone who went to George Campbell. Matriculated 2009.
Yeah.
Then went to DUT.
Okay. The Durban Institute of Technology.
Yeah.
Sure.
University of Technology.
University of Technology.
100%,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm there. I'm distracted because now I've seen this thing.
You've also started hustling. You know what kids don't
Yeah.
understand, and maybe some parents, I'm talking about parents that have money and businesses.
Yeah.
They do fear because once the bug hits, if a
It's
child
hard.
starts
It's
making
hard.
money and
It's
hustling in
hard.
grade 10, 11, now you have to sit and study when you can make a quick 200, 5 clipper.
Yeah.
And then you go to varsity and you're like, hey, how long? And then people start telling you, I've graduated, I'm working. How much are you earning? Oh, I'm an intern. I'm making like 8,000 Rand. You're like,
Yeah.
this is what I'm looking forward to. But I'm making like, I've had a mate of mine here. He didn't speak about it on the platform, but you're selling weed at varsity and you're making 5,000, 10,000. And this guy's telling you I'm interning at 8. You're like,
It's not worth
it's
it.
difficult to concentrate in class when you've been exposed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're distracted.
So I'm distracted. I'm attending. I'm trading. I'm also, remember the time I'm not really making good money. So as much as I'm trading and I'm attending, I'm also trying to hustle at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, whatever opportunity that comes my way. Because my biggest thing was, as much as I've seen the markets, I need to raise more capital. Whatever I can raise, I'm pumping it in.
Okay.
So whatever opportunities that are out there, I'm in between meetings, I'm attending anything and everything, you know, because I wanted to get it right. I wanted to, whatever door opens, I'm in.
Do you think you were chasing money at that age?
I think I was chasing money.
Why did you want to chase money? Outside of seeing Range Rovers and Ferraris, what do you think was driving you? Not just to get by, but if you speak about Dangote, it means you're chasing big money.
Look, when you come from a well-off family, I don't think the pressure is that much. Reason why I say it's not that much, yours is just to manage and multiply. I had nothing to multiply. I had nothing to manage. So already I understood that whatever needs to be done has to happen in this lifetime.
Okay.
And I'm not even sure how long this lifetime is.
Yeah.
So every 24 hours is critical for me. So whatever I can grab, I'm there. Whether it's a tender, I've dabbled in almost everything.
Jeez.
So whatever I can chase, I'm going for it.
You've got all the badges, boy. Network marketing, promotions, activations, t-shirts.
I mean, people don't even know.
Tenders.
I've worked in a call center while I was studying. I've worked as a waiter, Suncoast Casino, Mimos back in the days.
That's dope.
So I'm in school in the night. I'm serving tables. I'm getting whatever I'm getting. I'm pumping it in. I was doing a lot of
The
stuff.
school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
You were in school and the school of hard knocks, which is
100%.
probably the more important school.
100%. And I also need to make it clear, I don't come from an extremely poor family. I mean, both my parents were teachers.
Yeah.
So I could have been one of those kids who say, listen, mommy's going to take care of it. You know, daddy can pay for everything. I can chill on the couch and do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
But I said, let me do something with my life.
Where's home, by the way?
So home, originally from Umlazi. From Umlazi, we then moved to a place called Montclair.
Okay.
And then from there, yeah,
This is all in Durban.
all in Durban.
Okay.
But I've also moved around a bit because I went to primary school. I was all over the show.
Yeah.
Studied in Ladysmith at some point.
Mnambiti.
Mnambi.
That's closer to Newcastle, where the Kings are from. Boom.
Went to Colenso at some point. Moved to PMB Wartburg. I think I spent about 2 years in Kitchdorf. German school. From there, I then went back to Durban.
This was parents moving around.
Yeah, so my parents were kind of working here and there everywhere. So I was really moving around a lot.
Okay.
It's only towards the end of my primary school journey where I really got settled, and I was in Durban full time.
Okay. So you're in class, outside of call center waitering, you also start trading and you're trying to raise more capital and you want to trade more.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're at liberty to say how much you were making in tertiary. And again, from trading, how does GFI get born?
So I think towards, second or third year, I think I was probably making way more than my lectures.
How much is that in money terms, Baba? We're slow, team.
I was making enough.
Aye, Baba, we don't want enough. Don't give us these
I was-
diplomatic words.
I was making it.
10,000 a month?
Nah, that's too small.
20,000 a month?
That's way too small.
30,
It's too small.
40, 50,
Let's say I was above 100.
100K a month
Yeah.
as a tertiary student.
I think it's difficult to
That's
say a
wild.
month because obviously it's up and down.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like you're getting a paycheck.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Some months I'd be sitting on a fairly good amount where I could pretty much not do nothing for the rest of the year and
Yeah.
I'll still be fine. So I then, with more capital, obviously you can risk more.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I really started building to a point that in my third year, I realized that I really have to make critical decisions with my life.
Yeah.
Do I continue dividing my focus and energy in all these things that I'm trying to do? Or do I invest more in what seems to be working?
Yeah.
Because I'm already pretty much okay. And
That's more than okay, boy.
the minute I started focusing there, that's where things really took off. And I remember having to make that decision that I think today is my last day on campus.
This is the Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates story. You know, people are always like, yeah, but they dropped out. And you're like, no, they didn't drop out from a TUT to go and hustle. They had built businesses that demanded their time and energy, and they were making money. And to what you're saying, they had no choice.
And,
Did you
and I
feel
think,
you were a maverick at the time? And
nah.
or did you feel like these guys? Were you aware of the guys? You were like, okay, this might be a similar story. I drop out of DUT because I'm arguably making 100K a month.
I definitely can't put myself at their level. But
You
I think
should, though.
for me, I think I also have a responsibility because I think over the years we've had a lot of Indwana that would say, but I mean, if Sandile left school and focused on trading, why can't I matriculate and go straight into trading? You know, and I think we need to correct that on this platform where for me, it wasn't like that. I didn't finish school, jump out and hope this thing works.
Yeah.
I was already trying a lot of things in school while I'm still studying. You know, it's only when I started seeing that, okay, I think this thing might work for me, where I actually took that decision to say, I'm prepared to take the risk. I'm prepared to face the consequences should it not work.
That's important, bro. I've also earned all my hustling badges. I used to sell T-shirts. We've hosted tertiary events. I almost got into tenders at some point. I decided to pull out at some point. I was a loan shark, etc. 2013 was when I quit working in corporate. I was at Standard Bank at the time. And it was after I tried a year at fish and chips. I had my own fish and chips called Penuel's Fish and Chips.
Oh, nice.
And then as I was selling off equipment for my business, one of the guys that I asked to bring a truck came to fetch stuff. I asked him how much he was making. And he said he was making 30,000 a month with a mini Hyundai Kia truck, the H100, the K2700. I was like, this would be dope. And I remember I spoke to my mom the whole festive season, which I want a truck. I think she gave me some of the money, even though I was working. I bought a truck In January, in 15 days, I think I made 18,000 moving furniture.
Wow.
Second month, I got a bit more work. I made 30K. By May 2013, again, proof of concept. I was like, I'm reckless. I'm an entrepreneur. I want to be rich. But there's something that I've seen that works. And I jumped. And I'm glad you're raising this because so many kids are like, Sandile did it. It's like, guys, hear him well. He didn't jump out and hold his breath.
Of course.
He was hustling, not just trading. And it was only when it was like, look, I can carry on living how I'm living, but I think I can do more if I sacrifice this. It was a difficult decision to make, and you made it.
Because also it's a matter of freeing up a bit of my time, because now if I remove the studying, the time I'm spending on campus, it means now I have more time, and time is money. And if I have more time, I can do more. Which means I can now actually multiply the results that I'm already making while I'm juggling all these things. And I'm happy you mentioned the truck story, because for me, the minute you say 30,000, my brain just went, because I'm like, if I have 20 trucks, that's over $500,000 a month.
100%.
And that's how an entrepreneur thinks.
Which is not true, by the way. I lost a lot of money, and it doesn't work like that. And people don't give you contracts. But that's exactly how the brain works. You're like, no, man, if I can quit work and get 3 more trucks, all of a sudden I'm earning more than my salary.
Of course.
Thanks a lot, bro. There was a question I wanted to ask, and now it slipped me. But I want you to carry on with your story of GFI. No, this was the question. Were you trading on your phone, on a computer? How were you trading?
So my first laptop was bought by my dad.
Okay.
They said, son, we don't believe in this thing you're doing, We still believe you should be focusing on your studies.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense that somebody can sit in front of a phone or a laptop and become not even successful. For them, it was a question, will you be able to sustain yourself?
That's an intelligent concern for parents to have.
Yeah.
Very intelligent. We see you making money, but can you sustain it?
Can you sustain yourself? Where are you going to be in 20 years from now? So they gave me a laptop, and that's what I used to trade. In my last year of university, that's where things really went. Because they sat me down, decided to become ministers of finance. They said to me, Sandile, how much do you need for the whole year? For tertiary, how much do you need for transport? How much do you need? Basically, all my needs for the year. Put all that together. We came out with a budget for that year. They then say to me, take care of yourself. We've got other things to focus on this year specifically as a family.
That was a mistake, right? Well, like
Best
at the time.
best decision
But they
could
were
have.
giving you capital.
They were giving me capital, you know.
When you're a trader, life of a trader.
Immediately when that money hit, it didn't even have to take me 10 minutes to think about it. And keep in mind, that's based on the fact that already there were results. I was already doing this thing for some time.
Yeah.
So for me, it was immediately, I can make more than what they put on the table. If I just put this money in the markets for a short space of time.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. And it wasn't long after that, I had to say goodbye to my friends. They said to me, Sandy, this is the biggest risk. In fact, let me use his exact words. This is the dumbest decision you've ever made.
Yeah.
I said to him, listen, people who fear taking risks in life, they end up working for risk takers.
Jeez, that's not nice. You don't have to say that to people. Have you seen the movie Troy? Brad Pitt?
No.
You should watch Troy. It's one of my favorite movies. He plays a character called Achilles, who was a super warrior back in the day. There's a scene at the beginning of the movie where whichever army he's with is going to fight some other army, and he's like superstar warrior, Cristiano Ronaldo of fighting. They bring their biggest warrior, Biagrius or something, and then his king, I think Agamemnon, calls Achilles, and he's not there. One of the guys comes and is like, oh no, Achilles is sleeping. One of the kids went to fetch him.
Okay.
The kid gets there, the guy's in his tent with honeys, naked with him, you know, and in the next scene, he's on a horse getting ready. And this little kid looks at him, he's like, that man you are about to go fight is the biggest man I'd ever seen. If how does the line go? He's the biggest man I've ever seen. I wouldn't want to fight him.
Yeah.
And Achilles looks down at this little boy and he says, that's why no one will ever remember your name. And it's literally that. It's you are giving them that Achilles treatment. That look, if you don't want to take risks, just make sure that your CV looks good, boy. Because one day you'll probably have to submit it to me, and I'll have to review it.
100%.
What did you do with some of your money during tertiary? Did you ever expose your parents to the money you were making? Were they aware that you were making money?
I don't think anybody was aware.
Okay.
Because for me, keep in mind that my mind was so fixated and glued to where I want to be.
Yeah.
And remember, when I say where I want to be, I mean, you're inspired by what you see around you.
Yeah.
And I remember in Abu 97, at some point I was like, I actually want to be a taxi owner.
Yeah.
Because that's all I could see.
Yeah.
You know, all the rich guys would either own taxis, they own supermarkets, you know. So all of a sudden at that stage in my life, I'm no longer looking at what's around me. I'm looking at your Tony Elumalus. I'm looking at
That's
your
Nigeria.
Yeah, that's Nigeria. Your Aliko Dangote.
Nigeria.
I'm looking at your Strive Masiwa.
Zimbabwe.
Yeah. So I'm looking at all these black entrepreneurs who are doing fairly well. And yes, I can see my 100K, I can see my 50K, my 30K, my 200. But if I look at where these guys are, it feels like I've done nothing.
You were plugged in.
I was plugged in.
You weren't like, oh, I've made money. You were like, okay,
was-
this is a base.
I
I
was
need to
tunnel
reinvest.
focused.
I need to reinvest. I'm
I
growing
was
something.
tunnel focused. tunnel focused. Yeah.
You quit school, and then what happens from there?
So that's where I'm now really glued in. However, what really made me focused is I didn't state this to my parents.
Yeah.
So I'd have to wake up every day with my bag, everything, pretend as I'm going to campus, but I'm actually going to sit and trade.
Mr. Beast, one of the biggest YouTubers on the planet, speaks about making money off YouTube and how he hated school. And his mom thought he was going to school, and then next thing he's making, I don't know if it was hundreds of thousands or $1 million on YouTube.
Shucks.
And he goes to his mom, he's like, hey, I got paid. I want to quit school. She's like, hey, okay. I can imagine how many kids, even to this day, while we record this, are lying to their parents. And look, it's a difficult conversation to have because
It is.
we have to straddle both sides, right?
It is.
We can't tell kids to blindly follow your dream. If your parents give you money registration,
No.
go invest in.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
But I think even with your story, the story is about risk management. It's about, sorry.
I think for me, more than anything, which I'm hoping this conversation does, is to also open the minds of abazali.
Yeah.
To say, if we can truly support our kids' dreams, maybe there's no need to lie about it.
Yeah.
And obviously, remember, our parents come from a different generation, so
Yes.
we can't really blame them.
Yes.
For them, this is what works, and there's nothing else that we've seen. Who else in this family have you ever seen who sits in front of a laptop and makes money?
Yeah.
So there's no reference.
100%.
And hence why for them, you gotta do this. But I think, as the years have gone by, I think even our parents have started, seeing that there's so many other opportunities. I mean, there's YouTube, there's people making money on different platforms, So I think for us, you're a parent, I'm a parent, ours should now be to let's support our kids, ensure that they study, but still give them the necessary support they need to pursue those crazy dreams, no matter how crazy it might seem.
Yeah. I remember speaking to a friend of mine after I quit corporate and I was doing my hustling thing, and he was trying to build his own business on the side, and he kept saying his parents don't want to support him, and he was frustrated. How do I convince them? And I was telling him that, with anything in life, it's important that you speak about reference and the fact that they come from a different generation. You need to figure out as a young kid trying to hustle, how do my parents think and what does success look like to them, so that I can give it to them and they can have peace. And I said to him, in your business, if you're telling your parents you run a business, they don't know what that means. So I advise you, go and make corporate jackets with your company logo, make mugs, make diaries and calendars. Take those things to your parents and be like, oh, this is from my company. Do some interviews on the newspaper. Somewhere else. Your parents are going to be like, oh, lento yakho, it's a real thing. Because that's how their minds work. If you have to get a certificate, a short course, I was at the Branson Center of Entrepreneurship, do those things. And then as you make some money, show them. Maybe you've bought a car. It can be a small Toyota Taz like the car I used to drive. This is the car I've bought with my little business. How? Okay. Prove the concept.
100%.
That's how you buy in. And that's when they'll be like, Yazi, hey, Sandile, lento yakho usufika ngemoto, you're doing this. Yes, I actually have an extra 100,000 saved because they now can see.
100%.
So that's 100%. Fundamentally important. 100%. So you're going to school, pretending to be studying, but life of a trader, Baba. Hashtag black child is possible.
That was my favorite line, eh?
Sure.
Yeah. So I think things really started going in the right direction.
Yeah.
It wasn't long till I bought my first car, moved out of home. My first car was an Audi A4 at the time.
That's not a first car, bro. That's like a third car. I've driven I don't know how many Teslas and I'm still seeing flames.
Yeah.
A4 is your first car.
Yeah, brand new.
Congrats, bro.
Thank you so much. From there, I think, things just went crazy. And that's actually the reason why I'm explaining this is mainly so that you understand how GFI was born.
Yeah.
Because it's when those things were happening, where now everybody says, hold on. When's our
Sure.
Who
are your parents?
Where you working? So it started very casually.
Yeah.
Teaching a couple of friends here and there, teaching those who were around me at that time. And I soon realized, hey, hold on. Now I'm spending less time in front of my laptop and more time actually being
teaching
a teacher
You are running away from class because of distraction. Now you're the teacher.
Now I'm the teacher. Then I'm like, no ways, man.
That's the family business, by the way. The GFI was the family business, if you're not aware. When you have parents who are teachers, and here you are building an institution of education, that's the family business, boy.
Yeah. In fact, I found myself doing exactly what my parents were doing, without even me realizing. So from there, I then said, look, let me formalize it. Let me build an institution where we can actually formally empower those who are willing to learn. And I mean, we started off with a very tiny office, probably the size of the studio.
Very tiny. The size of the studio. That's a tad disrespectful. Sorry, this room is very small.
Yeah. No, it's big enough. Trust me. We had
for HFI, ne?
Yeah.
There's hope, Debs. Hey, biggie by biggie, little by little.
I mean, we started very small. But once again, my vision has always been global. Yeah. That's why when we even named the company, it wasn't a Tegwini Forex Institute.
Forex traders.
You know?
IFT.
We always knew that this thing is going to blow up. This thing is going to become an industry one day. Whether people have positive or negative things to say, we are about to create a whole revolution. A generation of young people who are going to say, listen, we're not going to sit at home and smoke weed. We're not going to sit at home and be hopeless. If Sandile can do it, we're going to do it. So that's when obviously GFI was born. And obviously, as much as we started very small, I mean, there's no funding. This is me taking what I have, pumping it there, setting up offices, banners, and this and that. But we called it Global Forex Institute because we knew where we want this thing to go.
This was years before The Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, way before that.
When you watch that movie,
way before that.
Do you ever get like goosebumps? Because if you look at Leonardo DiCaprio's story and Jordan Belfort, and how when he left trading and he went and he set up his office, small space, but also his character was also like, we're gonna be a global behemoth.
Of course.
So when you watch the movie, you didn't get like goosebumps in your hand, like, hey,
I do.
This is me.
I do.
Jeez.
I just never want to own that because there's a lot of misbehaving in that movie.
No, there's a lot of misbehavior in that movie. Jeez,
Yeah.
by the way, for people that don't know, the trading industry in America is very vile. And because America normally sets the tone, a lot of South African trading houses, the guys, when you get to know them, they swear. I won't expose people, but some of them, they take substances, which is unnecessary. They love gymming. Of course. High stress environment.
It's very stressful.
And some guys end up hurting themselves, or they get into extreme sports and get hurt. It's a very toxic space, very toxic masculine space. But it's guys who think like, if you want to be a lion, a predator, you have to be comfortable to eat people and eat their faces off. But luckily GFI and those spaces were not like, toxic masculinity.
Yeah. So I think we went more the institution route. Yeah. We taught so many people at that time. And I think that's really where I would say the trading industry in South Africa, I mean, not to say we started it, but I think we got to expose it to the ordinary guy. Yeah. You know, because prior to that, I mean, there were guys who were doing extremely well way before me. Even white guys who I won't mention, but at that time, it was very corporate. It was very even when I walked into his office at the time, I just didn't feel I didn't feel like I belonged.
Whose office?
A gentleman.
Oh, you're trying to not mention
the
name?
I don't want to mention his name, but I mean, it was a white guy, very well known in Durban. Yeah. He was one of the people who I would say most of us got to know trading through him. Okay. You know, when I walked in, it was I felt like I was in an office of some corporate giant, you know, and this thing looks very impossible and difficult. So I think we kind of made it look, you can do it. Yeah. You know,
made it mainstream.
This thing is like, what's up? Bro, everybody should have it.
You are a pioneer. I have to give a shout out to you for how mainstream you made. Look, Forex trading became a gateway drug because so many other things came thereafter. Binary trading, commodities, even ordinary stock trading. I mean, about easy equities later on started making things easier.
100%.
I have to give a shout out to yourself. I have to give a shout out to Jabulani Ngcobo, Cashflow.
Of course.
I have to give a shout out to Prince Mazibuko, who I met, Prince NRP. I know Ref Wayne. is still popular even now. Am I missing anyone? There's a boy of mine from Newcastle who went to Newcastle, Sean Benjamin, who also followed in your footsteps in teaching people how to trade. You find GFI. I don't think I want to speak about your partner and how you guys grew, etc. In the interest of time. I want to know. I think when I
think it's important
website,
just to touch on that point.
Before you touch on it, at some point I saw that you guys had taught over 2,400 students at about 12K a pop. You know what you're saying about the truck and the 18 times. So I was like 2,400 students, 12,000. And I'm like, oh, Sandile,
let's not go there.
Sorry, please touch on GFI.
Yeah.
I want to get into some of your scandals in the media.
Sure.
Yeah, please.
Sure. So obviously with GFI, it wasn't just myself, and I really want to give a shout out to this gentleman, one of my mentors, George van der Riet, who I still to this day believe he played a critical role. I mean, the main donor that are doing big things now in the trading space, who are doing very well, and I'm very proud of that, by the way. And if you look at some of the stuff they're doing, it's things that George was speaking about back in 2012, 2011, 2013. And I look at this white man, I'm like, you crazy. Yeah. There's no way we can do that, So he really played a critical role in us establishing GFI, in fact, expanding GFI to what it became. He became more of a brother to me. Hence why even at the time there was a lot of, it was only just a front of this thing, of course. Just the face. Spana Namanga, it never made sense because
how much older than you is he, if you were to estimate?
I mean, he's late now, but I think he probably
he's late.
He passed on.
I'm sorry. When was this?
He passed on 2020, just before Christmas.
Jeez, sorry about that.
Yeah.
It wasn't COVID related. You don't know.
Yeah, it's a bit of a complicated story.
Okay.
Yeah. So he played a very critical role.
So I'm asking about the age gap. There's a reason I'm asking.
I mean, he was way older. He's probably should be 45 now.
Okay, so he can be like a big brother.
He was like an older brother.
Like DJ Smooth, I think, are early 40s as well.
Yeah, he was.
Because you see, when you're with a white man who's older, the assumption is always this is the person who bankrolls you. Yeah. This is the person who's your capturer. 100%. This is the person you're fronting for. When you're just the Popeye at the front, and it's kind of sad because it speaks to the mindset, inferiority complex of so many people. Yeah, that we need to break. True. By the way,
true.
Sorry, please continue.
True. So for me, it was more of a brother. I mean, I remember when we went to go and establish our operation in Cape Town. At the time, we slept at his sister's house in Hermanus. And it didn't look normal. Here's this young black oak who's in Hermanus, which is very white, and I'm staying in their home. I mean, we'd go to George's mother's place in Durbanville. We'd stay there. When we come to Joburg, we'd stay at my mother's sister, Mamngan. And he was comfortable, in my family space. So we really became brothers. And obviously, those are things that people never got to see. They just saw us on stage with our Sandile just moving around with this white man. So we really became close, and we built this thing to a point where every province in South Africa we had a presence. I mean, in Gauteng we had massive offices in Fredman Towers as well as in Pretoria.
Fredman Towers is in Sandton.
As well as Pretoria and Mainland. So we really built this thing to become a giant. In Cape Town we were occupying the ABSA building, 30th floor.
CBD.
CBD. Yeah. So we really, we're employing so many people. I didn't even know some of our staff members.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's success, right?
Yeah.
I don't know all our employees. I think Christo Visa through ShopRite and Pipco alone has over 200,000 employees.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, I don't know them. Oh, you work for me. Oh, nice to meet you.
Not that big, not that. I think part of the reason why I didn't know is we were moving around a lot. So I wasn't stationed in the office. I was in and out of different cities. If I'm not doing that, I'm trading. If I'm not trading, I'm resting. So I got to a point where I was barely even spending time at home. Yeah.
I go back to the Mark Zuckerberg reference. I normally tell people this story, if you may.
Sure.
I normally tell people the story that I feel like in life, success takes, it could be one, maximum 3 people.
Yeah.
And if you look at Mark Zuckerberg as an example or as a potential formula blueprint, Eduardo Severin was a peer that he stayed with at Res. He happened to have a little bit of money because he was trading.
Okay.
Oil futures, I think, when he was
Yeah.
in high school. He
Yeah.
was president of the investment club at Harvard. Things that we need at school. What you were saying about make this an extramural where kids are like,
course.
oh, are you part of the Forex club
Of course.
at George Campbell?
Of course.
So find Eduardo Severin who can fund the startup if you don't have the money. You guys set up, you register Facebook, you buy some servers so that you have storage space. And then you need to find the next person who's going to take you to a provincial, arguably national level. And that was Sean Parker, who had founded Napster. You know, he found the guys, he found out Facebook had become popular. Harvard, Stanford, Princeton, probably, it's like UJ, Wits, UCT are all using this platform.
Yeah.
Sean Parker comes in, he makes them remove so it's just Facebook. And Sean Parker comes from a community of entrepreneurs and hustlers in Silicon Valley. So he introduces Mark Zuckerberg, Eduardo Severin to all these guys. And then the third guy who came and blew this thing wide open was Peter Thiel, who was part of the PayPal mafia with Elon Musk, Reid Hoffman of LinkedIn, and a couple of other guys. Peter Thiel put in $500,000. Facebook became $1 million company. And not only did he do that, and this is the power of things like Dragon's Den when it's done properly, Shark Tank. He was like, I will put you on 5 continents or something ridiculous like that.
Sure.
And you can imagine his reach. Then other guys came later. But I normally tell people, you imagine, let's say me as an example. I'm a young kid. I'm decent at YouTubing. And then I meet Sandile Shezi, who maybe has like 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. And you're like, oh, let me put you on. Come onto my podcast. I mean, think of MacG and Soul. Come onto my podcast. Now everyone's speaking about you. And in seeing us, you meet someone like a DJ Spoo. He's been in the industry for a while. He's got a huge following. He's like, I'd like to bring you kids up to my level as DJ Spoo. That becomes my second person. You're first, you're my Eduardo Severin. He becomes our Sean Parker. But you want to find like the whale. You want to find Patrice. You want to find Christo Visa. You want to find Koos Becker, Yanni Mutonua. Like, we see what you guys are building. Like a Joe Rogan, like Patrick Bet David. They're like, we will put 20 million into your podcast because you guys are doing something pretty special. And if people can move like that, the first important thing is you must have something dope to sell, whatever it is. But the trick to success, I had a gentleman here called Winston Innes who was saying the trick to success, or
shout out to him, man.
Shout out to Winston, is human beings and relationships.
He's
George van der
big on
Riet became
relationships.
part of that for you.
Yeah.
And I don't know maybe how many people he introduced you to, how many people you introduced him to. But the fact that you can be like, when this guy came in, we expanded. He became my mate.
Absolutely.
And we did some really, really dope shit.
Of course.
I'm not sure if you're at liberty. Please feel free to be like, I'd rather not.
Yeah.
He was in the papers for potential crime, I think, in the UK.
Yeah.
I stand to be correct. I'm not sure if you'd like to just clear that up, or if you're like, no, it's, he's passed. I don't want to speak about it.
Look, I think it's important to speak about it.
Okay.
Simply because those were some of the first attacks one had to face. This is what, back in 2014 or 15, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Where it was Sandile's partner is a murderer.
He's a murderer.
Or, and for me, when you read something like that, you begin to realize that there's a deliberate agenda to discredit what we're trying to do at whatever cost.
Yeah.
Because the first question I asked, what does that have to do with me? What does that have to do with GFI?
You're working with the criminal, Gaten McKenzie.
Where was I when he was doing that? Because we had not even met.
Yeah.
That's something that happened in the UK. I didn't even know the guy at the time. Whatever happened there. He had to pay for whatever it is that happened.
Sure.
And I think even the story, people don't really understand the story to the T of what actually happened. Ideally, I don't think it's my place to explain, but I know what happened, which is something that could happen to you.
Okay.
Because if somebody was to walk in and attack you, I don't think you would
just sit back
and say, go for it. But what happened, which is none of my business, none of GFI's business. Yeah. But for me, what I loved about him, he was very open and transparent to say, Sandile, this and this has happened in the past. So should one day you hear about it, it shouldn't scare you or compromise our brotherhood and what we're trying to do. Yeah. Dope guy, man. dope guy.
Sure.
I remember even when we had our fallout, the level of respect we still maintained because we parted ways at some point, and unfortunately that was the demise of GFI.
Okay.
Once there's a lot of money involved, things happen.
That's a fact. I say that to almost everyone I do business with. I'm like, let's build a genuine relationship. As soon as the money's here, it's going to get complicated. And let's try our best to separate the two.
Of course.
Yeah.
So it got to that point. I mean, there was stupid money. He started going into the strip club business. He had 3 clubs or 2 clubs in Cape Town.
Yeah.
Bought a farm.
Yes, George.
Yeah, there was a lot happening, which was beautiful. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
We made history. We did really a lot of crazy things together.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say, the level of respect and brotherhood we kept even when we parted ways, till this day. If I was to meet that guy in heaven, I'd still say, my nigga, we did it.
Are you comfortable to give an estimate of how much you think you guys brought in over the lifetime of GFI?
Stupid amounts. That's all I can say. Stupid amounts.
You can't say numbers?
Lotto amounts.
Lottery amounts.
Lotto amounts.
What led to the demise of GFI and what happened to you thereafter?
So obviously when in fact, how we split, because I've also seen some people saying, but Sandile starts companies and leaves companies, and it doesn't work like that. As an entrepreneur, when you start a business, you don't start a business to close it. I don't think that's ever the objective.
Yeah.
You don't start a business to leave it.
Yeah.
But in the journey of building a business, things happen.
Yeah.
Same as you didn't know you were going to quit your job, but it happened, So obviously when we parted ways, I sold my equity to him.
Okay.
He took over the entire business.
Yeah.
And things then just got complicated because people would go to seminars and think maybe Sandile is sick or something. Sandile is, he's probably attending to a family crisis, but let's join.
You were the golden boy. You were the face of GFI.
Yeah, let's join this thing. We'll probably see him a month or 2 months later, because it wasn't publicly announced that I'm no longer the owner of the business. I'm no longer part of the company. So obviously, I think it disappointed a lot of people when they actually found out, Sandile is no longer part of this company. He's now venturing into other stuff.
Why did you not announce that publicly?
I did.
Oh, did you?
I did. I think not a lot of people got to see it because I did a statement. We put it up. I think they did a statement as well on the GFI page, put it up, but at some point got deleted. But it was announced.
The media and propaganda is something I'm very passionate about, and I understand the importance of telling your story and being transparent where there
Sure.
Because the reality is you think you release a statement and it's enough, and some people are going to keep asking. I mean, I can imagine now there might be people in the comments who are going to be like, oh, I didn't know GFI is gone. I didn't know Sandile is no longer involved. And like, but we did release a statement. It's like, unfortunately, you're going to have to keep telling the same story over and over until it kind of registers.
Of course.
So anyways.
Of course.
So you sold your stake, people were disappointed, and then you're not sure in how the company was being run. What happened?
So whatever happened after that, I think obviously they tried to really continue with the entity.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the same without me.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same without me. Not to say I was the guy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also understand now George is involved in many other businesses himself.
Yeah.
So
his focus.
Yeah, the focus is
diluted.
I mean, we've been doing this for so many years.
Yeah.
So at some point, you really get bored of. It's like you're running on a treadmill.
Yeah.
Every I mean, on weekends we do like 3-4 seminars
Yeah.
in different cities. You literally run out of the venue, get into the car, you get taken to the airport, you almost miss the flight. You need to land in that city. As soon as you land, you can't even freshen up properly because you got to be on stage at a particular time. So it was crazy.
You're like a DJ, boy. Gigs. I'm a gigs. Too many gigs.
It was back-to-back gigs, man. So I mean, 5-6 years later, I think he was also tired of it.
Yeah.
He was also tired of it. So he wanted to kind of step back, focus on his farm, focus on his clubs, which he could run without having to be physically there.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the things that contributed to the demise of GFI. Okay. And obviously when he passed on in 2020, that was the end of it.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I'm just worried about time.
Sure.
I want to know what you did with your money after you left, But before you do that, because I think this now opens up to the next chapter of your life.
Yeah.
Do you still trade? Do you believe in Forex trading? So many people have raised concerns about Forex trading as a scam. There have been so many scams around Forex. You've been accused of a lot of things. You've been in the papers, hawks looking for you. I remember when we met up, I was like, "How, Baba? I heard you were on the run. Can't you hear?"
Let me be clear. There's no hawks that have ever had to look for me.
So those are all false allegations. You're on the run. The hawks are looking for you. You stole people's money.
I've never been on the run.
You guys were trading people's money without license and those things.
Yeah.
Just some of your thoughts around the Forex industry. If you're still trading, your thoughts around the industry as a whole and some of the allegations made about you.
I think let's first make this clear.
Yeah.
Forex is not a scam.
Okay.
Trading is not a scam.
Forex trading.
Forex trading, derivatives trading is not a scam.
Yeah.
It's legit. Stock trading is legit. Whatever it is that you're trying to trade, it's 100% legit.
Yeah.
If you and I, Pen, have an agreement and something happens, whether you lose the money yourself, whether I lose the money on your behalf, doesn't make trading a scam.
Okay.
It's whatever deal or agreement you and I had that went sour.
The problem is most Forex traders, I guess, were not being fully upfront.
Yeah.
About the risks. You're like, yeah, sure, but it's like
it's a highly leveraged
double
market.
Triple your money.
It's the same way
you
lose
can double triple
course,
your losses and lose it much quicker.
Of course. I always use the example of leverage.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, if you go onto any trading platform, you'll probably see a small disclaimer at the bottom.
No, it's very small. So tiny.
It's a very small. So the best way to explain leverage and the power of it, which is, I think, one of the things that also contribute to some of the frustrations, the losses, and so forth.
Blowing accounts.
It's
a trigger word for some people. Multi-meta trader. I blew my account.
I mean, I've seen 1 million go down in 5 minutes. It was sitting like
in
this.
5 minutes.
Yeah. And there was nothing we could do about it. There was nothing we could do about it. So if leverage, think of it this way, Pen. If I have R1 million and I want to buy a property worth $1 million, that's 1:1.
Yeah.
There's no leverage there.
Yeah.
If this property accumulates in value by 20%, I'm making 20% on my initial capital, which is 200K clean. How do I make more money without putting in more money, still using the same $1 million that I have? I apply leverage. How so? I go to a financial institution. I say, listen, guys, I've got $1 million, which is my margin. Can you give me 100 million? That's now a leverage of 1:100. I've got 1. I'm trying to get 100 times my initial capital, which is 100 million. Instead of now, I walk out with 100 million. When I get back into the property space, instead of buying one house worth $1 million, I can now buy 100 houses worth $1 million each. If the property market goes up by 20%, I'm not making 20% on my 1 million, which is the margin. I'm making 20% of the total value of the contract, which is 100 million. And I'm making 20%. That's 20 million rand.
Off $1 million rand.
Off $1 million rand. Just by applying leverage, I've made 20 million.
Yeah.
So that's where things really begin to get a bit interesting. However, what I think we really don't speak about is the fact that leverage is a double-edged sword. Because the same way I can make 20 million, if the market just drops by 5 million, my initial 1 million, which was the margin, is history. It's gone.
And we need to take a moment of silence for all the blown accounts. I traded Forex for like 6 months, but I demo traded for like a year because I thought I had a formula nyana.
Yeah.
You know, at the time, some of the things I learned were, there's things called an A book and a B book. There's funny ways that certain brokerages play the game. Sometimes you think you're trading in the markets.
Those are perceptions.
Those things become...
Those are perceptions.
Those are perceptions. I cannot agree with that.
Okay, let me put it this way, ne?
No, I know this is getting technical. I'm scared of starting this conversation because it's going to get technical and we're going to deviate. I don't know if we'll have time to speak.
Sure.
Not today, on another day about the Forex market on its own. Will you allow me that?
100%. But
allow me to close this off.
Allow me to close this off. The reason why I say it's opinions, what you're saying is true, 100%. It does exist. But
I've heard stories of Nigerians that sit in rooms and
yeah, the
Please
reason
carry
why I
on,
say
sorry.
it's perceptions is I've met a lot of people who'd say that, and I'll say, how spot the difference.
Mm.
You can't spot the difference. I'll give you 2 different brokerage platforms, and I say, show me which is the A book, which is the B book. You can't. At face value, you can't.
we'll speak about it. It's technical, and maybe on that day I'll stop asking dumb questions and we can
Sure.
go deep
Yeah.
and we
yeah,
can discuss
yeah,
things
yeah.
technically and be like, let's assume everyone has been trading Forex and they understand.
100%.
You're still happy with the market? You still trade?
Look, I mean, I'll never stop trading my personal capacity.
Never.
Never.
This is like your thing.
Never.
It's the one thing that like,
It's one of those things that I think even in my late adult years
yeah.
as a grandfather, I'll probably still trade.
Because this was like your first big hit and or your first love.
Yeah.
Basically, like this was the girl that put me on the map, and I'll always appreciate her.
100%.
Your thoughts on cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and where this trading world is moving now, about Bitcoin, about Ethereum, and whatever.
Look, I think we are still at the very early stages in terms of trying to understand it. It's the same thing as, when the internet came out, I don't think we understood the impact of it. A lot of people just thought the internet was just for entertainment.
Yeah.
Video, so nobody really took it seriously to a point that we now host meetings on this so-called internet thing. So the same, but it took time for us to really mature and understand what we can use this thing for many different reasons. Same thing as cryptos. I think the way that we got involved with cryptos, we treated cryptos as ipanoi.
Who's we? Are you talking about as people?
As people.
Oh, okay.
When
we're like, it's gonna crash. Oh, and by the way,
it did crash.
We have to speak about black people, bro, and the poor. They love pyramid schemes and Ponzi schemes. And when you speak leverage, what?
Yeah.
Part of the appeal of Forex, let's assume it's a scam.
Yeah.
Part of the appeal is I have made people who have made money. I want to
course.
be one of those people that wins,
Of
even
course.
if others lose.
Of course.
People like they struggle with delayed gratification. They want the instant gratification, which is one of the issues we have as a society. But it's because we come from poverty and struggle and we want... Sorry. You were saying cryptos.
I think we're also partly to blame. So we also have to take that responsibility in terms of how we've sold this thing. Might not necessarily have been the best way to sell it.
This is you guys in the Forex industry.
Let me talk for myself.
Okay.
Same thing as Jobungbuza, my crypto, Bitcoin, for example. In most cases where Bitcoin got exposed to abantu abamnyama, South Africans, it was Fagmal Uzobon.
Yeah.
Fagmal, you're gonna make money. It wasn't properly broken down. Which actually, a crypto is a medium of exchange.
Yes, like money.
Like money.
It's not an asset for growth.
It mustn't be a matter of I'm buying Bitcoin because I'm hoping this thing will make me $1 million at some point. No, I'm buying Bitcoin because I want to send money to somebody. I want to pay for something. There's somebody who wants me to make a payment for a phone using Bitcoin. It's like money.
Yeah.
So hence why I say we're gonna get there, but I think it's gonna take a bit of time.
Okay. But you happy with the cryptos? Do you trade cryptos?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
When you hesitate, it means you're not big on it. It's just more like of a
I'm not big on
side
it.
chick to Forex.
I wouldn't say I'm not big on it. I think I've just never really gone as hard on it as I did with trading.
Okay.
But it's the future, man.
Of the guys that I mentioned, are you friends with any of them? Are you guys mates? Have you guys done work together? Specifically the guys I spoke about in Forex. Did you guys ever meet in secret Illuminati rooms and like, we are going to take over the Forex world, boys?
No, I think for me, I was too glued in working on what I was working on.
Yeah.
I've never really had time to...
You've met them?
I've bumped into some of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you guys weren't like a clique, like the Power Rangers of Forex?
Nah, you watch too much TV, bro.
Yen, dollar, pound.
Yeah.
You sold your stake to George, may he rest in peace, George van der Riet. What do you do with your life from there? I think let's speak about that going into specifically this t-shirt that you're wearing that I keep wanting to ask about.
Yeah. So I think for me at that time, to be honest, I was over it.
Mm.
Like I was over it. I was ready to just get involved in something else.
What was frustrating you?
Um,
You also didn't fully address the allegations. That ukweleta abantu imali babo gogo want their money. Sandile sifuna imali yethu mfana. You know, if all of them were
Yeah.
true, are you dealing with certain things? Are they
yeah.
court cases? Type of situation. Sorry. And
So
then
I
the new chapter.
let's address that first,
Okay.
right? I think one of the mistakes one made, and I say mistake now in hindsight, is when I was about to close the chapter of GFI, I think one took a decision to say, listen, I'm not going to continue doing this anymore, right? I think I've done my fair share. Let me leave the room and allow others to continue doing it. And I started a mentorship program of, okay, I'm going to groom a couple of guys outside of the normal training we were doing, teaching people how to use the platform. Let me groom a couple of guys who can duplicate what I've been doing.
That was really dope. I remember seeing that. I think Vusi Tembe was trying to do something similar, like create these proteges
100%.
and try and fast track them so we can multiply.
100%. It's my belief that, I mean, if you're a real leader, you don't have followers. You shouldn't have followers. You should focus on creating other leaders.
That's a true leader.
Yeah.
That's a true leader.
100%. So for me, I was trying to do exactly that. And I did it. But in the process of doing that, I put on quite a lot of Indwana. When I say put on, I would do seminars and give them the platform. You know, they would probably do half the presentation. I'd probably just step in at the end. And in the midst of that, I then started getting approached. Would say, Sandile, we don't just want to be your boys. We don't just want to work for you. We don't just want to be opo back. We want to be part of what we are doing. You know, we travel with you, we present with you, we do all these things with you. But it's like, you know, we're just your puppets. And that's where the conversations actually began. This is 2017, 2018, where one of the boys approaches me, says, Sandile, can I buy a stake in the business? Can I be part of, can I be a shareholder with you? Can I be at the same level as you? I then say, ish, okay, sharp. Let's do it. I know you. And that is what has brought us where we are. Where I break a piece of the business, I hand it over to Lindwana. Lindwana goes to his dad. His dad gives him a certain amount of money. We sign agreements. We're on board. We start moving.
I'd like to take this opportunity to tell two stories. I, similar to you, had big dreams at some point, financial. My goal was 100 million. I had hashtag 100 million. Before our hashtag black excellence, life of a trader, black child is possible.
Sure.
I stumbled upon an article by in the Playboy magazine at the time. I don't read Playboy. We were visiting.
You don't need to explain.
So look, I don't ever buy Playboy, but look, on this day, I think this guy's name is Usandile as well, Pascal Ulanga. I think his name is Usandile, but we were visiting his place with a mate of mine, who's a big businessman now, a young guy, very ambitious, ambitious young gents. And he's an avid reader. And I see this magazine, I'm like, oh, and Playboy. He's like, Pen, there's some good articles there. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, FHM, I don't know if you remember FHM. FHM would have like one big investigative piece in it. So I'm like, okay. I paged through and there's an article on a guy called Mark Rich. So Mark Rich is the founder of Mark Rich and Company, which became Glencore and also gave birth to Vitol and Trafigura. Commodities trader, an animal. If we think Forex traders and these guys and the stock traders, this guy's a real animal. If you think flying Cape Town, Durban, these guys are doing global, dollar billionaire, wanted in America, ended up living in Switzerland. So I was like, I think I want to make this money thing. I didn't care about money. I still don't. I was like, if I take care of money, I can live my life. So I started on this journey, and part of what I stumbled across was Sahara Parua in India, which is an investment vehicle. Subrata Roy was the founder, and he ended up with 1 million employees, and he built a juggernaut of an investment company which owned media houses, TV stations. I think he had a Formula One car. He was getting investments from a hairdresser, a person who dicey plate on the street, and saying, with your 1 rand, 10 rand a day, we can grow your money. That's how we got to 1 million employees, because these people would walk. I know it happens informally in Gauteng, probably other places. Kono mama that walk into hair salons and collect money from people, and you're like, why? It's because they have stock files where these people, like, if you want rent, if you want, they save money together. The Pakistanis raise much more, the spaza shop guys.
Sure.
So Subrata Roy built Sahara Pariwa. Later on, he'd have scandals and be arrested, etc. I think Professor Muhammad Yunus built Grameen Bank, which was almost like the Stockfell model. You'd have a Stockfell of 5, 10, especially all mama, about Tungayo, about Bagayo, that plug into this bank, which gives the Stockfell money, not the individual. And then you guys are all accountable for it. And they ended up fundraising like billions of dollars to give to impoverished places in Asia. I think he started in Bangladesh and other places. He's won a Nobel Prize for that. Wow. And Yanni Mouton of PSG, who were the investors in Capitec and what it became, cites the story of Grameen Bank. So I wanted my own Mark Zuckerberg model. I wanted to build a company that transforms Africa. And I was like, we have Stockfells, 55 billion a year. And I built something called the National Savings Club. I've written a book about the rise and fall of the NSCs, the book, how I made and lost millions. Yeah. And I was trying to save money from ordinary people and grow it. I was going to grow it through not Forex trading, which I was going to flirt with later, but Shoni's loan sharking. Yeah. So trusting human beings, right? What you're saying about trusting human beings. Sandile wants to trade Forex. Ubanbani wants to start a business. Ubanbani needs money for tenders. And you're like, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be that dollar billionaire who's going to be able to point at like 1,000 businesses. And like all of those guys know me because at some point I gave them money. Yeah. But business is not like that, you know. And I promised people like 40% a year, which was a dope return because I was loaning out money at 20% a month, 240% a year, excluding compounding. I'm in the money.
Theoretically, it makes
sense. This is the trucks, you know. Yeah. But life doesn't work like that. So I crashed spectacularly in 2016. So that's my first story. I've written a book about it. The second thing is this concern, man. And this is a very deep conversation for me. And we won't speak about it now. And we'll have to expand either me and you or other people. Okay. This idea of empowering people and empowering...
It's a mess.
Potentially the wrong people who...
It's a mess.
Once they taste something are not like you. They don't have the good heart. No. I think in the Shaka Zulu story, there's a narrative. I don't even know if it's accurate because some of these stories are not real about why Shaka didn't have children. And it was because, arguably, he was like, if I raise these kids, they will kill me. Yeah. Because they will see what I've built and they will get jealous and they will think they're bigger than their father. And when you empower, it's the reason why I think ShopRite is a success, personally. ShopRite doesn't franchise. Pick and Pay tried to franchise and they've gone and scrapped all of that. They bought Double Score. They gave them to black owners and Spar has done it well. So we can defend it to some degree. Sure. Spar is successful because of franchisees, but how do you find the right people? And how do you groom them?
It's difficult.
The second part is conversations I've had with so many people. A true leader, you're very right, empowers. Because a true leader says, I will give you all of me so that one day you rise to my level and beyond so I can step back.
Here's the thing, Pen. You and I think, which as in everybody thinks like you.
Yeah.
That's where our first biggest issue is. Because you think as in, I've gone through the pits. I've gone through hell trying to build this thing. So if I bring Pen on board so we can work together, Pen is going to go through the ups and downs with me, you know, and he understands until it's time to do it. When we go through that dip, Pen says, screw you.
Let me tell you my last story before I hand over. Comments are going to be like, hey, Pen, let your guest speak.
Yeah.
I've got a theory of pain about Julius Malema.
Okay.
Julius Malema was raised by his grandmother, I think in Seshego. And she passed on and she was very dear to him. And I think he found a mother in Winnie Mandela.
Yeah.
which is why he loves her so much, and even named the EFF house Winnie. I don't know if it's called Winnie Mandela House or Winnie Madikizela.
Yeah, I think so.
Mandela House. At some point in his upbringing, you know, you look for role models, and he found that in Jacob Zuma. You know, this timer who dropped out of school and who'd been fighting, who's been in a CADA and an ANC.
Yeah.
You know, uneducated, miseducated, clumsy, very traditional. And Julius himself was not really a school guy. And I think he found a father figure in this guy. And that's why when the time came for Jacob, it was like, we will kill for Jacob Zuma.
Yeah.
We will kill for him, because he was like, this is, as your son, I want you to know, I pledge allegiance to you. Now there's a quote that says, when they want votes, they call your children or whatever, but when they want to make money, they bring their children. Now, as the ANC starts disciplining Julius as a son, you want to see your dad step up, leave my boy alone. Jacob Zuma didn't do much. He didn't say much. He watched the guy get expelled and didn't intervene. This guy that said, I will kill for you. At the same time, you see like his biological son, Tutuzani Zuma, on the rise with the Guptas, making money, becoming a what. And for me, every time Julius with the EFF would get into parliament and say, Ubabaga Tutuzani, they were very big on that. Oh, Ubabaga Tutuzani. How I read it was like pain. I want people to know that like this is not my dad, because at some point I thought he was. And I want everyone else who looks up to him to be like, Aksubabuenu, stop calling him Ubaba. This guy's Ubabaga Tutuzani. He will always put his children first. And that becomes one of the painful points in trying to uplift people, that they may let you down. And
Majority of the time.
No, let me stop there. I had one more point.
Let me touch on
I had one more point, but please let me stop.
Let me touch on this just for some of the stuff I'm not going to go into detail with, because some of it is still in court as we speak.
Okay.
Some of it has been thrown out of court. We have these agreements. We're working together. Beautiful. That's why I've never seen any drama. 2018, 2017. I mean, I didn't start trading in 2021. This is a journey from 2009. Question is, why wasn't I scamming people in 2013, 2014, 2015? Why is there nothing about it? We build up. Now remember, the nature of our business is teaching people.
It's an institution.
It's an institution.
Educational institution.
Now I've got these partners on board, right? We're journeying. Everybody's happy. Clean.
These are your mentees, your proteges?
Mentees, some of them silent partners who also came through similar route. Said, great, let's expand the business. If you want to buy a stake, come through. This is not something we advertising publicly. It's like, I've got a relationship with you, Pen. You're like, hey, Chief, what you're building is a monster.
Yeah.
Can I buy 10%? You know, same as I can approach you and say, Pen, this show is going to be massive in 10 years from time. Do you mind? Here's $1 million. Give me 5% of this podcast.
Sure.
You know, you're not advertising.
Hey, wait, is that like a deal on the table?
We'll talk about it offline.
Sorry, Sandile.
Right.
Please.
So it's those private conversations where we're like, you see value in what I'm doing, or I see value in what we're doing. We reach some sort of agreement.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere in this is your platform. You run the show. I'm just, give me what you give me, whatever dividends at whatever time. Happy days. COVID hits. What's the nature of our business? Teaching. What's the nature of our business? Seminars. What does the president say? No events. Shut your doors. Sit at home. That's where shit hit the fan. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, listen, if we need to close our offices for 2 years, it is what it is. We will suffer a bit. We will rebuild. But now I've got this group of people who bought shares, who think this is some pyramid scheme that must consistently pump out money. Like, as we can't be paying dividends. The business is not operating. We're not making money. We're not doing seminars. We're not doing trainings. We're not onboarding clients. What do you expect to happen? I say, cool. You want me to buy you out? Let me buy you out at the current value of the business. Say, no, give me my initial investment out. Business doesn't work like that. Mind you, one of these so-called, in fact, the person who started this whole drama, I buy a car for him.
I feel like I might know that guy.
BMW.
We don't have to mention names. I think I might know.
The BMW 650i convertible. I buy it cash. Boom. Take the car, boy. Go do your thing.
You bought the guy a car?
Cash.
I think I know the guy you speak about because I think I may have had conversations with him. He was very close to you, I think.
Yeah. And I say, listen, you don't need to pay me this thing right now. Do your thing. Whenever you make money, you can give me a portion. Pay it off if it takes you a year, 2 years, to whatever. It's not an issue. We're building together. Goes back to what you were saying, which is you think we're on the same page.
I say, you bought the guy a car cash. Fizz, I think I want to be your friend. But like, I don't know. Like, what friendship is this?
Right.
No, don't brush me off when I Sandile. Let's be friends, Fizz. Come on.
I mean, we've already started building this brotherhood.
I say, BMW is coming. Sorry, please carry on with your story.
So I think that then became another issue of, okay, now we've mixed business with, I'd say, a bit of pleasure, friendship.
Yeah.
I trust you, you trust me. Now you want to pull out of the business because it's not operating. And I'm saying, but we can't do that right now. If we do, we have to renegotiate the entire thing because the value can't be the same. Look at where we are. And it's not my fault. It has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
If I'd be on stage, we'd be teaching people all over the world. Then it became an issue of, okay, Shap, if you want to pull out, pay my car. Mind you, the car has already been smashed.
Oh.
Written off. I haven't been paid a cent. An article came out saying, no, but it was a gift. Which grown-ass man can buy another man a gift?
You gonna buy me a gift? Duh.
So there was a whole lot of stories and a whole lot of nonsense in between, but that was the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Where it was, in fact, I'd say it was very personal.
Yeah.
Where, for me, simple. Pay my car, I'll buy you out of the business. Simple. Then it was, okay, Sharp, we'll flip this whole thing upside down and take you to the media, call it fraud, do this, do that, put you in a position, basically, bully you into a corner for you to do what we want. And that's where we are.
One of the reasons alternative and social media is on the rise and platforms like mine become important is so that people can tell their story.
100%.
Whether their story is true or not is up to the courts or individuals to decide. But the bottom line is to what you're saying about the media, that you paint a narrative and you create these perceptions and people don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. And it's important. And we're relatively young and we're still learning. We don't have like family members who have been torn to shreds. I mean, speak about Tutuzane now, who's a brother of mine now.
Sure.
He at least can reference his dad.
Yeah.
He can be like, bro, I used to watch my dad getting chastised, front page of every newspaper.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you get home and this guy's like, right? And you're like, so at least he can draw from that, you know, when he faces adversity. Some of us are learning the hard way. Yeah. And I'm hoping one of the lessons that you want to learn is, if it's not going to be your own, at least your mates, people like myself, platforms where you can be like, bro, I've got something to get off my chest. Can we please hit?
Yeah.
I need to tell people what's happening. I need to tell people I'm leaving GFI. This is what I'm doing. I'm mentoring kids. Guys, I heard allegations in the papers. I can't speak about this. It's in court. But I'd like to set the record straight on this, etc. I think that's fundamentally important.
Very important.
But thank you for that.
Yeah.
The next chapter for you. After you sell to George, you speak about the mentors, mentees. You've spoken about the scandals. Yeah. What happens thereafter? Because you said you wanted to get into other things as well.
So I think I did get into other businesses, hospitality. In fact, one of my partners is sitting right here.
Shout out?
Yeah. Shout out to Moses.
Hey. Moses is still mali.
Yeah,
no, don't just laugh. Moses is laughing. I made him such a nice cup of coffee. Like, say, Moses, funi mali. What is hospitality in terms of what you invested in?
We had a restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah. Which also got flipped upside down by the
COVID.
load shedding.
Load shedding.
Yeah.
Oh.
Shut it down.
The attacks, boy. Look, shout out to, I don't
Shut
even
it
know if
down.
they exist, but shout out to the small businesses that have been able to
survive.
COVID, load shedding. Maybe a plug, YouTube. I think it's, how big is Samsung or something along those lines, so that people can see the juggernauts that Samsung is as a company. But the reason I'm raising it is because it pivoted. I think it started off as a grocery store or something silly. So the real entrepreneurs, problem solvers, engineer minds is people that constantly pivot. So shout out to all the small businesses that have been able to sidestep COVID. Mhlawumbe udayisa i-archer kwathiwa say we need sanitizers and ama-mask. I-GFI isipusha ama-mask. And then next thing, say GFI isipusha ama-generator and, you know.
Sure.
So shout out to them. And sorry about that.
Yeah. No, it's one
hospitality was murdered
it was
by COVID. And I can imagine.
Funny enough,
now.
we tried to sidestep load shedding. Then they started stealing cables, which put us in a position where we had to run a generator, not those small generators, a generator from the time we opened till the time we closed. And it just did not make sense.
It's not sustainable.
It just didn't make sense.
Do you think there's an agenda to destroy businesses? Like, I've heard of a conspiracy theory, or maybe I'm saying I heard and it's mine, where there's big businesses with a lot of cash reserves, and they've sent, maybe it's Cyril and his mates, to be like, go flush out all these small players. And how you do it is that you make the cost of business unsustainable for them, but we're fine because we have the money. We'll get the generators and the whatever, but we'll wipe them out and then we'll get to re-strengthen our monopolies. Do you think there might be something like that?
Let me keep my views to myself.
Okay.
It might be too controversial.
Hospitality was one of them. Shout out to Moses.
So it was one of them. We continued training people.
Yeah.
In the trading space under the umbrella of iTradeFX.
iTradeFX.
iTradeFX Live. To date, basically.
Okay, so you're still teaching people even now?
We've got some clients up until now. However, I think officially I've closed that chapter for myself personally.
Yeah.
The companies are still running trainings. But for me as Sandile, I've taken a step back from it.
Are you still in business outside of trading personally? Maybe investing in businesses?
I'm involved in other businesses as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, I see a newspaper article, Sandile Shezi running for president. I was like, sebeqalile with the lies.
Yeah.
Any truth to that?
Yeah.
What's your t-shirt about? What's the rise?
So I think it's important to state that at some point, one had to, obviously after having to shut down our restaurant, which was very painful, we had to accept that we've lost that money. It is what it is. I then had to make a decision. Do I continue building businesses here, or do I find a functional country, functional space, and rebuild the next chapter of Sandile there?
This is a painful thing that you're saying. So I've met a couple of times, he's become a friend as well, Great Jabesi.
Yeah.
He's, for me, currently the face of cryptos. I don't know if there are others. Like you are the face of Forex.
Yeah.
Great Jabesi is the face of crypto. And we've spoken a lot about Dubai. Tutuzane Zuma has spoken quite favorably about Dubai. So has Vusi Tembekwayo.
Beautiful.
Just on Dubai, other people speak about Toronto, Canada. Depending on who you are, what's this place in Israel? The capital of Israel. Tel Aviv. Some of these places that are very conducive for young, ambitious people. And the fact that you're saying functional countries, very sad considering what's happening in this country.
I'm one of those who packed their bags and went to build in Dubai. I lived in Dubai for some time.
How's the vibe there?
It just
I want to go to Dubai, man.
It makes sense, my brother. You know, if you look at the free zones, it's nothing like
economic free zones.
Yeah.
What's a free zone?
Nothing like building a business here in South Africa.
What's a free zone?
So basically, there's free zones where you can set up a company. There's tax. Let me not go into it, but the tax is nothing compared to here.
and it's conducive, and
It
there's
just
happy
makes sense.
employees, and the
Just
environment,
makes sense.
electricity,
The environment just makes sense.
no potholes, no family meetings we don't understand.
You're trying to throw me under the bus, eh? That's why I just said being in a functional country where your focus should not be trying to manage things that have nothing to do with your business.
There are people that are paid.
Load shedding is none of my business.
There are people paid to try and solve those things.
I shouldn't be worrying about cables that are stolen. That's not part of my business plan. I should be focusing on implementing and executing what's in my business plan. So when you find yourself in a functional country, it's a dream come true, where all you got to do is wake up and pursue your dream and not have to worry about other things that are going to distract you from what you're supposed to do.
Why do you guys come back? What's so nice about Mzansi and the people and Ladies Meet Black Mambazo and Black Coffee?
It's home, my brother. It's home. It's home. It's home. I think being there shocked the hell out of me. Because it's only when you even if you go and visit these countries where you begin to realize, I knew there's a lot of South Africans that have left the country, but I just did not think it was that bad.
Jeez.
I made high school mates there. I'm like, what? There are so many people who've left South Africa. You might think, hey, Mang is quiet. He's probably not even around anymore.
Yo.
People are trying to build their lives out there. So it's during those times and those conversations where we really started having real, open, transparent conversations. Gents, what do we do? Do we continue building here? Of course we must build. We need to build businesses that we can leave for our kids. But what do we do about back home? Do we just leave it as it is? Do we tweet about it?
Yeah.
Do we write captions for it? Do we criticize? Or do we get involved? And I think that's where the birth of what you're asking me about actually began.
Arise.
Not so much Arise. I actually set up my own political party, which is called Vuganma Africa. Set it up in the process of registration. One of the reasons why I came back, we're busy building that, and in building that, I think a lot of guys started reaching out to me saying, Sandile, we see the direction you're trying to go now. Can we have conversations? And I think for me, it was mainly about KZN, about Durban. Let me try and see what can I do there. How can I contribute there? And I think as we began to engage with some of these guys, Abumpo, Degada, and many other guys who I won't mention, we then realized that what we're trying to do is pretty much one and the same thing. To a point that I actually didn't even realize. It's only when we're having those conversations that Vuganma Africa and Arise pretty much one and the same thing. Because Muti Vugan, it's Arise.
Yeah.
So we eventually decided to merge, come together and say, let's actually do this thing.
I think we're in a beautiful time now where some young people are starting to get it. Nhlanhla Lux, I believe, as a mate and a brother as well, is doing amazing work in Soweto. He gets criticized, but I think it comes with leadership.
Shout out to him.
Chris Papas, who's under the DA, is doing amazing work in Umgeni. Action Society and NPO in the Western Cape with Ian Cameron, amazing work. I remember asking Ututuzane about why they don't just focus on Durban and maybe the coast, the East Coast, Richards Bay, huge economic hubs, just focus on that. And to what you're saying is like the work we need to do is countrywide. And for a person like him, for a person like you, it's like the people I've been working with, the people that know me, are not just in Durban. Yeah. And this is one of the things I said to you before as well, that you came and you changed the game. You taught kids that you don't have to hold your breath for a job,
of course,
or even a business. With your phone, a little bit of money, you can trade. And you got kids learning technical languages on their own without 100%. Going to even school or anything. And
100%.
It almost makes sense for someone like yourself to be like, guys, I've shaken the country's youth before. I'd like to come and do it again. And this time it's political activism.
100%.
The concern that many people have for all the young guys putting their hands up, and I know some people on Vusi Tembuwai to come back. Vusi says we should let South Africa crash
Load, yeah.
and then come later. The concern is that people are coming for their own selfish interests. You know, maybe Unhlanhla Lux wants tenders in Soweto. Maybe Duduzane Zuma wants to get money, which they claim he chowed with the Guptas. Gates and McKenzie probably wants tenders with Kenny Gnene. Do you have any selfish interests of why you're getting into politics? Is it just to serve, or is there another agenda?
Absolutely not. Look, for me, I think one of my biggest dreams is to engrave my name in the hearts of as many people as I can. And that was one of the things that I was pushing through trading, Uguti. Yeah, if you make money, great. If you don't make money, unfortunately. But one thing that I do want to ensure, you cannot talk about trading without mentioning my name. Not in South Africa and Africa.
Those are facts.
It's a fact. You go to Ghana, ask people about Sandile, they'll tell you. Go to Ethiopia, go to Tanzania. I had an office, before COVID, I had an office in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam, an office in Windhoek in Namibia, Zambia, you name it. So mine is not to say because we got that right or we were able to make history with that, politics is going to be a breeze. No, I'm not a politician. I'm a leader. And part of being a leader, Penuel, you cannot sit in the lounge and the kitchen is burning and you say, I'm not a chef. It's your home. And if it's your home, you get in the kitchen. And for me, if I can see that we are not going in the right direction, I'm prepared to get into the ring and let's do something about it. Will we make mistakes? Sure. Will we learn? Of course. Are we prepared? Definitely.
One of the questions I asked you was why not work with the Commander-in-Chief, Julius, at the EFF? Why not revive the ANC Youth League? Why not work with some of the other parties? Why start your own thing? Is it not diluting the black vote as some people are concerned?
I mean, we all have different views. Someone might say it's diluting the black vote, but I don't believe so.
Yeah.
Reason why I say I don't believe so, I'm one of those people who actually didn't vote in the previous elections.
Jeez.
Not because I didn't want to vote. I didn't know what to vote for.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm not the only one.
No, of course. I get asked that almost every day.
And said, Julius, great guy. Incredible leader.
Probably the best politician we have in the country, by the way, even though 100%. I don't agree with some of
100%.
his policies.
For me, it was there's certain things I agree with. There's certain things I don't agree with. Same applies with the ANC. So there's certain things that I agree with where we align. And there are places where I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at the stats, it's a fact. There are millions of South Africans who should have voted but chose not to.
Yeah.
And when you engage with most of them, they'll pretty much say the same thing that you just said, which is, I don't know who to vote for.
Can I give numbers?
Yeah.
So we've got close to 40 million South Africans over the age of 18.
Yeah.
Our under 18 is about 20 million.
Plus minus.
I think the number's like 38.8 million. Of those, there's 26 million registered voters.
Yeah.
You can already see the discrepancy between the 40 million and the 26.
Yeah.
These are people that haven't registered, who are sitting. Some of them don't know who to vote for. They think politics is a bunch of rubbish.
100%.
From the 26, I think at the last national elections, we may have had 17 or 19 million. So even of the registered voters, there's like another 10 million
that just
did not vote.
Yeah.
So you're saying it's not even about the 17 to 19 million. We're saying there are another 10, 11 million registered. And then there's another, 10 million, 11 million, 12 million, 14 who are not even registered.
Yeah.
And it's because they're like, we don't see a leader we identify with.
There's no need.
Do you feel you're that?
I don't feel I'm that. For me, with Arise, part of what we're trying to do is to organize those numbers. To say, Pen, if you are in the same position as me, just as frustrated as me, let's come together. And to directly answer one of the questions you asked is for selfish gain? Absolutely not. If you ask me, am I president of Arise? No. For us right now is we want to organize ourselves, number one. Number two, we want to identify competent individuals who we can put in strategic positions to execute what needs to be done.
Mm.
Whether you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you whatever, bring those skills, bring those expertise, bring your experience. Let's do something.
Would you be open to EFF, ANC, DA, IFP, PA, Action SA people wanting to join Arise, but saying, look, I'm still an ANC person, but I want to also work with you guys. Is that possible? Or it's like, no, it's us or nothing?
We're a political party at the end of the day, fully registered.
Okay.
So that's their choice to make.
You guys are signing up members currently?
We are signing up members already on our website.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're looking at basically being part of 2024.
I've sat with different people in the political space. I've sat with Sizwe Mpofu Walsh,
Okay.
Mandi Samashego, and there have been other people off camera who have said things like, if you want to be president of this country, you need R1 billion. They've almost accepted it. You need R1 billion. And I guess the story is you kind of need to grease people's palms.
Yeah.
So that's being president. Minister, as a member of parliament, there's probably some money you need. I don't know within a political party if you need to bribe people. But as a new kid on the block, campaigning, this is not necessarily the Global Forex Institute or iTrade FX where you can get on a stage and put up a banner. But there's money needed to campaign, to get people riled up, eating a streetwise too, naked t-shirts. Do you guys have funding? Do you guys have people that are funding you? Are we going to find out about certain white individuals later on in the future? You know, the Mazotis, whoever funds Cyril, because we're not allowed to see his bank statements.
Let me just say this. I think South Africans are tired.
Yeah.
South Africans are tired, fed up, in actual fact. So I think we at a position right now where certain hands don't even need to be greased. There's no need. Because people just want change. People just want progress. You know, I remember we were in Tembisa, I think 2-3 days ago. One of the community leaders there said, Sandile, I don't care what party you're coming from. We want development. So if you're going to talk progress with us and actually us see the things that you guys are doing, you and I can have a conversation. Until that, I don't care. I don't want to hear nothing from you. Because there's so many people who in fact, he did mention names, who've come here and lied to us for so many years. And this is a community with no electricity, no water, no roads. We went to Hammanskraal not so long ago.
People passed away there. And our sympathies and condolences to
people lost their lives.
To their loved ones.
As soon as we heard that, we said, listen, this is not a time to campaign. Let's do something about it.
Yeah.
We bought water, put in our cars, we convoyed. And when we got there, people said, listen, this is what we want. Don't come here and promise us that you're still going to come back with water. Give the water to us.
But hence my question, right? So I'm an EFF loyal cadre, but I like the work you're doing. You guys don't allow for that. You either Arise.
We open.
So you're willing to work with people with the hope that maybe you can kind of like, you see the work we're doing? So come election day, you'll choose.
It's your choice.
Yeah.
For us, we are working as we speak.
Yeah.
So we're not waiting for 2024. Wherever we see challenges and we believe we've got the capacity to do something, whether it's on a small scale or on a massive scale, we're in there.
Have you got any thoughts around, or let me just ask, because these are the burning issues.
Yeah.
Load shedding, unemployment, especially youth unemployment.
Yeah.
Crime. Load shedding, youth unemployment or unemployment, crime. I guess the economic landscape.
Sure.
Have you got any sort of answers for these burning issues?
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
We've got solutions to all these problems.
Yeah.
South Africa has solutions to all these problems. And the people who can solve these problems are there.
Okay.
The issue we have is we have people who are benefiting from this chaos.
Of course.
There are people who, should this chaos come to an end, you've closed their taps.
100%.
And those are the real issues that need to be addressed. Give you a typical example, Pen. We had people being arrested for not wearing masks.
That is true. Some of the soldiers were even beating
But
them.
you and I sitting here, we know where most of the drugs in Durban are at. We can walk into certain buildings.
Yeah.
You will find every drug you get. It's one of those open secrets.
Yeah.
We know here in Joburg where all the drugs are.
Yeah.
Then we go around arresting people for masks. We're not serious.
Sure.
And hence why I say everything you've mentioned now is simple to solve. It's a question of, are we willing to deal with these things head on, or are we going to keep maneuvering around them?
Are you guys willing to move out the way? You know, another young leader I generally forget to mention is Uvuyo Zungula at ATM. I think he's pretty dope. Are you guys willing to move out the way? Because you're saying you're not the president of Arise. You're asking for competent people to join you guys, to help you
100%.
build, to put in the work.
100%.
And if shining stars come through and they're
Go
like,
for it.
would you guys let them
Go
lead your
for
party? Vusi Tembewayo comes through.
Go for it.
Hey, Sandile, nice to meet you. You know, I love the work you're doing. You're like, look, come be
my
our
brother,
president, chief.
What we want progress.
Yeah.
We want development. We want a functional country where we can build empires in.
Yeah.
So if Penuel can do a better job than me,
Yeah.
go for it, my brother. I'll work hand in hand with you, side by side. Let's do this thing.
Do you guys have money?
It's not.
And
It's
do you
not.
have
It's
weird
not,
funders in the back?
It's not a position thing. It's a let's get work done.
Yeah. Do you guys have money? Do you have people in the back pulling strings of Arise?
The money's there.
Ark.
The money's there.
Bechele boy.
We still need more.
Okay.
But it's not so much about the money. It's about us getting work done.
Okay.
We can't have potholes that we drive over every day and not do anything about it. If the municipality is not prepared to solve it, let's come together and do something about it.
What's
we
your
can't
goal?
fix all the potholes, but whatever we can fix prior to 2024, we're going to do exactly that.
What's your intended goal for your party or your targets for 2024, number one? And number two, have you considered running as an independent candidate?
Absolutely not. That's why I'm part of Arise. So I think for us right now is we taking one day at a time. We of course we've got our own goals in place and sort of numbers we're working around.
In terms of parliamentary seats, maybe, or in terms of votes?
Look, in terms of seats, I think we're looking at a fair amount.
Okay.
That we're aiming for, which I'd like not to mention at this stage.
Okay.
But we definitely have a number in mind. And of course, I think right now it's a matter of building a solid foundation, which is one of the reasons why we're literally on the ground, engaging and trying to understand the core fundamental issues that South Africans are affected by. And one of the main reasons why these millions of people we're talking about feel like politics is a joke. And for us, it's a matter of getting them to understand we're not politicians.
Yeah.
We are frustrated citizens like them.
Why not run as an independent?
To be honest, I don't think it will work.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why I don't think it will work for me, let me not speak for anybody else, is the collective effort right now. With the short amount of time that we've been moving as Arise, the results are crazy. What we can do as a collective is far greater than what Sandile can do as an individual.
But don't you think you can be an independent and have your team of people that believe in you? I mean, it's almost like when you were building a Forex company, people enjoyed following your leadership and saying, let's hear Utu put Sandile. He will lead us in parliament as an independent and not as a party where there might end up being squabbles and people wanting you to kick you out.
I think one of the reasons why I wouldn't go that route is it mustn't be an I thing.
Okay.
It's not about Sandile. It's not Sandile's show. It's not Sandile. It's not 10, 20, 50,000 people supporting, rallying behind Sandile. This is our organization.
Okay.
Hence why I was saying if Penn can do a better a better job in the position I'm playing right now, I'm happy to step back.
Sure.
Not leave the party. I'm happy to say, my brother, we need you.
I'm hoping we can sit down more at some point and speak about your political campaign. I think it's fundamentally important, especially with the new guys, because one of the cool things you guys do is you get to teach us how the political system works because you're new.
Yeah.
So you're kind of going to be telling us things that the ANC and the D have known for long, and
100%.
they take it as second nature. You're like,
100%.
oh, actually, this is how many votes we need. This is what.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you'll allow me to indulge in terms of politics, where we can sit down and discuss politics.
100%.
The issues in this country that might be separate from us speaking about Forex.
Definitely.
This is me like kind of shutting down the conversation. But I want to ask if there's any other important things you want to get off your chest now while we still here.
So I think the main thing that I wanna mention is we want to encourage young people to register to vote.
Yeah.
We want to encourage, and this is not even me saying vote for our eyes. This is me saying it's fundamentally important that every South African registers to vote. That's number one. Number two, those who wanna walk this journey with us, we want you on board. We need you on board. And most importantly, we open to discussions. Anybody who feels they can add value to what we do, even if it's just advice, we open to that. We open to hearing feedback from people. We open to people telling us, Sandile, I think focus on this, focus on that. Because as you said, we're a new kid on the block, but we are ready. We are prepared.
Are people surprised to hear you speak Zulu? You're like a nasty C. When you speak Zulu, it's like, hey, you speak Zulu, bro? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Are people surprised when they hear you speak Zulu?
I don't think so. I think it's that thing of how I've been painted, and how I've sort of been, and it's unfortunate because some people only got to see Sandile at a certain stage of his journey.
Yeah.
Nabantu abangaziyo straight from Mlazi.
Come on, batshele.
Abantu abazi Sandile dlala ibhola ka Q Mlazi, dlala ibhola ka you, so those are some of the beautiful parts or izinto engathi I'm blessed with. Ukuthi I can dine with kings. I can ungangithatha ungifake Lamont. Ungangithatha ungifake anywhere. I'll fit in. I'll adjust. Yeah.
Sandile, I'm looking forward to us sitting again soon. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for telling your story. Thank you for inspiring young kids, man. We speak a lot about people that inspire kids, and there's a lot of heroes in South Africa. Soccer, DJs, amapiano,
Sure.
In business, etc. But you didn't just become rich on your own. You are like, I'm going to build an institution so that you guys can make your own money.
100%.
And whether people made money or they blew accounts, it shook their minds in a way that they'd never thought of. I think some of the kids who are probably TikTokers, YouTubers today, some of the kids trading cryptos, Forex trading was their gateway drug. And it's thanks to yourself in particular and some of the other guys I mentioned. So from my side, thank you so much. And I look forward to sitting with you again very soon.
Thank you so much for having me, my brother.
Cheers.
Cheers.